everybody. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a minute and talk about a family member who we lost yesterday. This is my cat, Kitty Boy. That is his name. We have Kitty Boy and Kitty Girl. We got them around the same time, 10 years ago. And we couldn't figure out what to name them. So Kitty Boy and Kitty Girl stuck, and this was my boy right here. Um, an amazing cat. Just the most friendly cat you could ever meet. And unfortunately, he was hit by a car yesterday. And yeah, just a very unfortunate situation. These are my mom's babies. She takes care of them every morning, all day. And he was my cat, so he needs to be known and he needs to be seen by the world. So I just wanted to show you guys this picture of him. He's an amazing, amazing cat, and I just want him to know that we're always going to think about him, and he'll be in our thoughts forever. So I figured this picture of him during one of the nor'easters from last year just made perfect sense with the info we're going to share in this video. So, Kitty Boy, you rest in peace, my friend. I love you so much. And thank you guys for letting me do that real quick. And now we'll move on to the weather. See you later, Kitty Boy. Love you, bud. And now on to the weather. So it is good to be back, everybody. Welcome back. It is October 23rd, 2018, 8:20 p.m. And the talk of the town has obviously been Hurricane Willa, which has just crossed over these islands of Mexico here. Major damage and flooding in these areas here, as this thing was a Category 3, almost a 4 at this point in time. And now we are watching the frames go to current time as it's about to make landfall around the Escuinapa area of central Mexico. Now, I have this pulled up on Google Earth as well, as we are literally probably a half hour or even in the middle of landfall as we speak. We've been watching pictures of people stocking up and buying all their supplies and water. This is a very, very big deal for the country of Mexico for sure. And this will also result in effects in the Northeast. And I'm talking about nor'easters already. Yes, nor'easters are being forecasted due to Willa, believe it or not, and I'm going to show you how that happens and the possibility of not just one but two nor'easters within a 4-day period, one of which possibly landing on Halloween of all days. And yes, we had to deal with this last year as well. It didn't turn out to be what was forecast, but this is looking a little more promising as far as the surrounding area of what's controlling this storm and where it's going to go after it makes landfall in Mexico. Like I said, almost any minute now, it's going to dissipate pretty quickly, but it's going to get caught up in our jet stream, and then the northeast of the U.S. is going to have to worry about this. Not just the northeast, as it passes through Texas in the middle of the country too, that is going to be a rainmaker big time. But the people of Mexico are bracing for this big, big storm as we speak right now, Hurricane Willa. And now let's talk about what it's going to do afterwards. So this is pretty important. Let's follow this. And just before we do that, this actually just updated now. This was at 30% no more than 10 minutes ago. The disturbance in the middle of the Atlantic right now. 40% chance of cyclone formation over 5 days. We can look at tropical tidbits and you can see this thing form and kind of move around the Atlantic a little bit. Not too sure if it's going to be a U.S. Issue at this point. Again, it's all about the surrounding pressures and atmospheric conditions around these storms that control them and direct them to where they eventually go and to where they eventually dissipate. So we need to keep an eye on this area. We will look at this. But at the same time, we are here to talk about Willa. So Willa currently Category 3, 120 mile an hour sustained winds. Again, we are just about landfall. This is a big storm, guys. It's going to dissipate fairly quickly, but the moisture is going to stay around, and I'm going to show that in a few charts that I have pulled up. Now, as far as our jet stream goes, the Northeast and the Great Lakes area, all the way from Minnesota, you can curl that all the way down up into Maine, has been very, very cold. We've had a deep dip in the jet stream. That Canadian air has been coming down. There's been snow and higher elevations here in the Northeast, the Great Lakes. Everyone who lives near the Great Lakes, you know how this goes. Watertown, Buffalo, anything to the east of these Great Lakes, anytime moisture passes over these areas, you can expect lake effect snow. So we are hitting these temperatures now. We're in the 40s, and once we get to nighttime, it drops below 30. Once we see these 36s and those types of numbers, that is fair game for snow. And trust me, I am not ready for this. I know a lot of people are not ready for this, but we could be dealing with two possible nor'easters back to back, and one of them due directly because of Hurricane Willa that's going to make its way through central Mexico. As it dissipates, it's going to get caught up in our jet stream, and then we're going to take a look at tropical tidbits, and we're going to see exactly why this is going to affect us. But as of right now, by Wednesday, that is tomorrow, by 12 a.m., the storm should be inland about this spot, and then by the end of Wednesday, actually 12 p.m. Wednesday rather, this will already be towards the end of Mexico, approaching Texas as a depression. So we are going to get some rain in Texas from this storm, there's no doubt. We need to keep these people in our thoughts in this area right here, as this is going to be a very rough time for them. Your typical hurricane situation. Massive storm surge is expected. A very populated area. I pulled up on Google Earth here exactly where this storm is. Here are those islands that had just passed by. Isle Maria, Isle Maria Magdalena, San Juanico. These islands right here were very much affected by this storm. And I have this area marked right here. This is about where the eye of the hurricane is right now. So right south of Esquipunica. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce this word, but this is where Willa is right now. We can see this is a populated area, guys. There is people that live here. Here's a pretty big city here. A lot of people in the path of this storm, so it is a big deal for the people in Mexico. We really, really need to keep them in our thoughts, and we need to follow this through. So this thing's going to take a path up into this direction as it approaches South Texas. Then we're going to start seeing it get pulled into our jet stream, and that's when we need to start dealing with our nor'easter situation. So let's look at that now. Let's pull this chart up first. You can see on the bottom left here, that is Willa. I'm going to bring us back a few hours and just give you an idea of the movements. You're going to see these purples and these cold temperatures up in the northeast. That is that dip in the jet stream we're dealing with, and that is why you're seeing this moisture not going up to the northeast, because the dip is here. So this is like a force field wall. So the moisture as of right now is going over Texas and staying in the south states and then out into the U.S. But by the time Willa makes it up into this area, we're looking at an uplift in our jet stream, which is going to allow all that moisture to come towards the coast and then up into the northeast. So as we move forward, you can start seeing how that moisture bends. It stays south. But then once this area here starts moving west to east, that's when Willa and the remnants of it are going to get pulled up in this direction, and we're going to see that classic 9 symbol that we see for our nor'easters like we did last year when we had those 4 and 5 nor'easters, one a week for, I believe it was the month of March. It was a record-breaking month. And this is just looking to be a continuation of last winter, unfortunately. I have a closer view. Obviously, we looked at this a little bit of Willa crossing those islands and now just making landfall. Basically, as we speak, 120 mile sustained winds. So nothing to mess with, guys. This is a very serious storm. There's going to be a lot of damage, a lot of cleanup, a lot of unfortunate things due to this storm. And it's not going to be just the hurricane here that's going to be an issue. So let's get to tropical tidbits and see what we're dealing with here. Really quick, this chart is showing some moisture movements over the next few days. You can see Willa will cross over Texas. It will bring heavy rain, and then it'll bring heavy rain to the southeast states, and that's when it's finally going to get pulled up into this area, and you're going to see that 9 swoosh, and you're actually going to see 2 of these. So we're going to go through that now. This is accumulated precipitation over 4 or 5 days. You could see the areas that are expecting to get the most amount of moisture over the next week, basically. And you could see how it starts with Willa over here, and it stays low and then shoots up to the northeast. Classic nor'easter situation with a high pressure pushing it, and that's where we get our big swirl, that counterclockwise swirl. And if the temperatures are low enough, guys, that is when we're going to be dealing with a possibility of snowstorms, snow accumulation, you name it. And here we go. Let's look at it right now. This is the GFS version. We're going to back up to current time right now. You could see Willa down here, and you're going to see how Willa comes up through Mexico and Texas, and then it kind of hooks up to a that symbol we always look for. It's always a 9. It pulls moisture from the warm Caribbean, and then it swirls around, and this is where it meets the cold air, and then turns to that snow and that ice that we certainly don't miss. At least I don't. So as we move forward, you could see Willa stays south over Texas, goes through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. It'll bring rain to Florida by the 26th. And then you can see as we get into the 27th and 28th, this is the call for the beginning of the nor'easter right here. You can see how it's pulling the moisture up. We have somewhat of that 9 symbol. We have Pennsylvania covered, West Virginia covered, areas of Virginia, the Chesapeake Bay, you name it. And it's going to be very chilly, guys, so this could be very cold rain. It could be flurries. It could be icy. We had ice watches in northeast Pennsylvania over the last 2 nights, so the temperatures are low enough. So there's number 1. But then I want you to watch this low pressure here as we move into Halloween. This is actually a second possible nor'easter, and in fact, this one looks to be more serious than the initial one that is caused by Willa itself. So once again, let's take it back, and we'll start to get an idea of which of these is going to be the stronger of the two. Now, as this one peaks, you can see some of these purples and blues here. That is cold. That is snow and ice. So the temperatures are there for this to be a nor'easter that involves snow. Nor'easters don't have to always involve snow. We could have rain nor'easters. They've happened in warmer times of the year, but it just so happens that it's getting cold now. We're getting these dips from Canada that are putting areas of northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine as those states that are going to see the snow first from these types of storms. But again, this one here is the one, and then the second one right after it, I think this one is going to bring more precipitation than that initial first one. It doesn't look like, according to right now, that there's going to be more snow. It actually looks like the first of the 2 nor'easters is going to bring the possibility of snow, and then the second one being more powerful based on the low pressure number here, 994, looks more to be of a rainmaker, but still we're going to be dealing with wind and rain. So it's going to be very messy in the Northeast for the next week, basically. But first, obviously, Willa has to travel through the South States, and it's going to do some pretty significant flooding in some of these areas as well. So Willa is going to be not just a Mexico storm, it's going to affect the U.S. Directly, and it's just lining up. All the things around it are lining up to show the possibility of these 2 nor'easters, which is why this is a very unique situation. A hurricane from the Pacific crossing over Mexico, then becoming a nor'easter in the U.S., followed by a second nor'easter not even 2.5 days later. Is definitely something worth reporting, and definitely something the Northeast needs to know about, especially when most of our attention is in Mexico right now. A lot of people don't realize that the weather that crosses over Mexico into the U.S. is very important to the Northeast, because a lot of it gets brought right up to us, and Northeast, nor'easter, that's where the name came from. So I'm pretty sure that's what we got for now, guys. Willa is going to be a very hard storm to deal with for the people of Mexico, so we really need to focus on that. Any significant updates I will bring back tonight. Tomorrow, absolutely, there will be videos. As I said, these couple days are the main days for our videos based on our work schedule right now. And with the loss of our little family member yesterday, I just couldn't get on here to make the video. So if anyone minds, just say a little prayer for Kitty Boy, our little man we've had for over 10 years here. We all miss him. He was an amazing cat, the nicest cat you'd ever meet. Loved everybody. He was a just a big old mush ball, and he was my baby. I love that cat so much. But I appreciate you guys sticking around. I'm sorry it took so long for me to get an upload out. Um, but here we are. This is our situation now, guys. Hurricane Willa about to hit the coast of Mexico, and then we have some nor'easters to deal with in the Northeast. So we have a lot of stuff to dissect and talk about over the next coming days. I appreciate the patience. Me and Caroline couldn't be more thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we'll be back as soon as possible. Have a great night. Bye bye.